All right, here we are, another teacher tip video. This one's from our Life Science 8th grade science kit, and this is called Antimicrobial Action. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take some petri dishes, we're going to put some agar in there, we're going to grow some microbes, and then we're going to check to see how well students are going to check and see how well these agents do at stopping microbes from growing. So we're going to test it out. A little bit of prep work ahead of time for the teacher, so let me get you squared away on that. The first thing we have to do is get our microbes going. What we suggest that you do is buy some crumbled blue cheese from the store. You know what I'm talking about, not blue cheese dressing, but the crumbled blue cheese. That good stuff there. Smell that. Good stuff. Put it in a little bit of warm water and just let it sit out overnight, and you'll end up making what we call a blue cheese slurry, which is nice and ripe. It's been sitting out overnight. And that's where we're going to get our microbes from. The next thing you do is you take out about 8 or 10 petri dishes, because that's what one jar of agar will fill, And for each petri dish on the back, use a Sharpie and make it into 3 equal sections as best you can. Each section is going to be an opportunity for a student to do their own testing when we get to that part, but that's why you'll want to do that. I didn't do this one just as simple as taking a Sharpie and doing that. Once you're ready to plate out the petri dishes, you take your agar and follow the directions in the teacher's guide. It does come with a hot mitt. I would suggest you use it, and once it starts as a solid and it slowly becomes a liquid as it's in the microwave. If you go too long, it will overflow. So it does say go in sections of like 10 or 15 seconds. Once it starts to loosen up, follow those directions. And once you're ready, open it up. Open the lid, pour the agar in just so that it covers, but it doesn't have to cover the whole thing. If you can see that there, you can give it a little shake and it totally coats the bottom. Take your lid, flip it upside down so the top of the lid is covering the petri dish and collecting the condensation. So there's another one. The reason we do it shallow like that is so that way we can get more dishes covered. So I'm just going ahead and finish these up here. If you get a lump or two in there, it is not a big deal. It won't matter at all. We just need some nutrients for our microbes to eat. So these things will take about 4 to 5 minutes to solidify. You can do these the night before, and if you do them the night before, you should put them back in the bag that they came in, because it's a sterile bag and it's airtight, and store them in their bag for the next day's use. So you can do a lot of this work either the morning of, or you can do it the day before. So I'm going to finish doing these. We've got our blue cheese here. We've got our items we're going to test. So once these cool down, solidify, we're ready to go. We'll come back and shoot that part. Alright, so it's been about 10 minutes. Our petri dishes here have solidified. At this point, you want to go ahead and store them for later use. Best to put the lids on, and you can turn them upside down. That way the moisture won't get on the lid. And like I told you before, you can go ahead and put these off to the side. Store them in your bag. You can store them in the refrigerator if you want, until you're ready to use them. This is just a sheet of newsprint because it's likely you're going to spill, like I just did right here. So it's a good idea to have a piece of newsprint or something so you aren't spilling. Okay, put this off to the side, and then we'll get going here. Oop. That's all right. So here's our petri dish. Here is our blue cheese slurry. And what students have to do in order to test these agents out, and they're all numbered here, is the way we're going to put these agents onto the petri dish is on a tiny little piece of filter paper. And students will use a hole puncher and a coffee filter. All these things are in the kit, of course. And go ahead and punch out several different little tiny filters. Using a pencil, not a pen, but a pencil, they were going to need to write down the number that corresponds with the item that they want to test. So for example, this is number 1. That's going to be used to test our mouthwash. These are the 6 things that come in the kit that we can use, that you guys can use. Students can also use their own thing. If they want to bring in some oven cleaner or some other stuff that they have at home, they can use whatever they want. They would just have to number the discs accordingly. So that's the items that they're going to use. How do we get these out to students? Takes a little prep, but you're going to need to make some individual cups that correspond with the different liquids. That way, what we envision is a group of 3 or group of 4, they can have these available to them so you're not all in the class going to the same spot. So that's what those, is that too close there, Rachel? Can you see them?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay. So those represent that. All right. So first thing to do, students need to inoculate their petri dish with some good old blue cheese slurry. We got our blue cheese here cooking. I don't need much. Take a Q-tip, dip it in there, and this is just kind of good microbiology technique. Take the petri dish, and all they got to do is go back and forth nice and lightly. If they go too deep, they will go into the agar, so you just want to lightly coat it. And you don't even need to actually see it coated, but it's good to go one direction and then flip it and go the opposite direction. Again, all these instructions are in the teacher's guide, but you want to give it one good complete coating of the blue cheese slurry. So if we're working in groups of 3, each student has their own section. What we suggest is that they go ahead and choose 3 things that they want to test. So to do that, after they've punched the holes, the filter paper and numbered them, let's say I'm going to do the mouthwash here, grab a forceps, grab a little disc. This does take a little bit of practice. Dip it in. You don't want to have it dripping with liquid, so they could have a paper towel if you want, or just dip it on the side. And then if this is my section there, put my little disc in there. I'll let you get a close-up of what that looks like. Can you see that okay? Mm-hmm. So in addition to that one, I could use another 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. It's also a good idea in between each one of these to have another cup of just rubbing alcohol, because what you're going to want to do is have the kids clean off in between and then use a paper towel, dry it off before they go ahead in between each one. So the rubbing alcohol is there for that. It's also good to have a disc that has nothing on it in the middle, and you can use that as a control. So each student would be able to test their own things. You got the material set up. At this point, you just gotta let them sit and they have to inoculate. Or incubate, sorry. So what we suggest is you want to try and create a warm environment. If you have a clamp light or something that you can put them under a light, that works. You can also put them in a windowsill. We don't want to get direct sunlight because that actually could kill the microbes. So we take the petri dishes, turn them upside down. I'm going to go ahead and put them in this box. If you have any kind of shoe box, would work. Place them in this shoe box, close it, put it in a windowsill. I'm going to put this one under a clamp light for a few days, and every couple days I'll take a look at it. Usually about 4 or 5 days, maybe up to a week, you'll start to see a lot of antimicrobial growth happening, and you'll see the results of some of these different antimicrobial agents. So good opportunity for students to explore, do some science, and ask some questions about, hey, I thought this was going to work. I'm predicting this one's going to work, and let's see how it does work. So we're going to go ahead and set these up, let them incubate, and we'll come back and show you what they look like here in just a second. All right, welcome back. It's been a week since we looked at our petri dishes, and we'll go ahead and let you zoom in. You'll notice on the dish with the discs on it, there's a couple discs that have what is called in microbiology the zone of inhibition, where obviously it's killed or kept some of the microbes from growing. But there's other discs where it looks like it didn't do anything, and this is a good opportunity for students to have discussions about why is that. Number 1 happens to be mouthwash. Well, that's an alcohol-based antibacterial, and it probably worked for a day or 2, and then once it dried off, maybe not even that long, the bacteria obviously and the microbes ended up coming right over top. So that's another way to have more discussions, but there is some cool things that students will be able to see. And a couple things to note: it's a good idea when you hand these to students to tape them down so they can't open them. We want to keep them closed at all times. And at the end of the activity, it's best to seal them all up, dispose of them through some biohazard means, or you can just wash the dishes in a diluted bleach formula. And the directions are in the teacher's guide, but that's the safe way to dispose of the discs. Very good. Thank you.